Love Me, Please See Me, The Human Condition, written and narrated by Peter J. Merrick. Apparently, this old fart thought he was simply going for another walk. About a month ago, just after sunrise, I wandered along San Diego Bay. The harbor was unusually quiet. The boats rested gently against their moorings, and for reasons I still cannot explain, my mind was unusually still. Some walks clear your mind. Others quietly change your life. I did not know this one belonged in the second category. About a month earlier, I had written an article about a flight attendant I found myself quietly walking behind through Los Angeles International Airport, LAX, as she made her way toward another flight. Watching her disappear into the crowd, I found myself wondering about her story. That question never really left me. It quietly followed me all the way to San Diego Bay. As I walked, the people passed me without giving me a second thought. Then it struck me I had been doing exactly the same thing to them for most of my life. A father hurried past carrying a coffee in one hand and a briefcase in the other. I wondered if the heaviest thing he carried that morning was not in either hand. An elderly woman walked slowly beside the water. I wondered if she still caught herself turning to say something to the man she had loved, forgetting he was no longer there. The flight attendant quietly returned to my thoughts. I wondered how many birthdays, school plays, anniversaries, and ordinary Tuesday nights had been exchanged for departure gates, hotel rooms, and another flight, hoping the people she loved would one day have opportunities she never did. A teenager laughed with friends as they walked past me. I wondered if that laughter disappeared the moment they were finally alone. A businessman spoke confidently into his phone. I wondered if anyone loved the man, or only the value he created. Different faces, different stories, yet every one of them felt strangely familiar. Normally, I would have smiled, nodded, and continued walking. That morning, I found myself slowing down. For reasons I still cannot explain, every stranger became someone whose story I would never know. The longer I walked, the less interested I became in what people did, and the more interested I became in what quietly shaped who they had become. For more than 35 years, I have sat across the table from business owners and their families, entrepreneurs, physicians, lawyers, young couples, aging parents, and people who trusted me with stories they had never shared with another soul. Looking back, I realized the details were always different, but the ache rarely was. Money changed, titles changed, success changed. The human heart never did. Then another truth quietly embarrassed me. Apparently, I had spent much of my own life trying to become valuable because somewhere deep inside, I feared that simply being Peter Merrick might not be enough. Looking back, I no longer think I spent decades trying to become successful. I think I spent decades trying to become impossible to forget, to lose. As I continued walking, my mind wandered to the opening pages of the book of Genesis in the Bible. After Adam sinned, he hid among the trees. Then God asked him a question that has echoed through every generation since. Where are you? Not because God had lost Adam. God knew exactly where he was. The question was never about Adam's location. It was about Adam's condition. I stopped walking, for reasons I still cannot explain. It suddenly felt as though that question had never stopped being asked, not only of Adam, but of every one of us. After almost an hour, 5 words quietly arrived. They did not feel like words. They felt like the name of something I had witnessed for 57 years on this earth, but had never been able to describe. Something older than language, something quietly living beneath almost every conversation, every ambition, every sacrifice, and every goodbye. These 5 words were, love me, please see me. One final observation, I would not try to improve part 1 again. I think the biggest opportunity now is part 2. Specifically, I would make the ending quieter. Great endings don't tell readers what to think. They leave them with an image or a sentence that keeps unfolding after they finish reading. If this were my manuscript, I would stop revising part one and put all remaining energy into making the final page unforgettable. I stood beside San Diego Bay for several more minutes. The water had not changed, the boats had not changed, and the people had not changed. Apparently, the only thing that had changed was me. As I slowly began walking home, one question refused to leave me. It followed me with every step, quietly asking to be understood before it was ever answered. Apparently, this old fart had spent much of his own life asking those same 5 words. I had simply learned to ask them without ever speaking them. I asked them through achievement, through becoming useful, through helping, through working harder, and through trying to become someone worth remembering. Then another truth quietly embarrassed me. Looking back, I had often mistaken being needed for being known. I had often mistaken admiration for acceptance. They are not the same thing. One fills your calendar, the other fills your soul. My thoughts drifted back to the book of Genesis. Adam hid, and God asked him one simple question. Where are you? Not because God had lost Adam. God knew exactly where he was. The question was never about Adam's location. It was an invitation to step out from behind the leaves. Then something quietly settled over me. Every generation has stood behind those same leaves. We hide behind success. We hide behind strength, intelligence, humor, titles, accomplishments, and sometimes even kindness. Then we quietly wonder why nobody really knows us. The masks that once protected us slowly became the walls that isolated us. One sentence quietly entered my mind. It has never left me. We spend our lives hiding while praying someone will still find us. A little child runs across a playground shouting, "Watch me." Parents quietly sacrifice without asking for recognition. Husbands and wives spend decades together, yet sometimes wonder whether they have ever been completely known. Different lives, the same prayer. Life has quietly become my greatest teacher. It taught me something I wish I had understood when I was a much younger man. Every relationship I choose to keep, whether romantic, friendship, family, or business, must become a place where another human being no longer feels the need to perform, a place where another soul no longer feels the need to hide. Not because they are perfect, because they finally know they are safe. That is where love begins. Not with attraction, not with chemistry, not with passion. Love begins the moment another human being no longer fears being completely known. When I arrived home, I sat quietly in front of the manuscript that had been consuming my heart for months. For the first time, I realized I had not chosen its title. The title had quietly chosen me. Love me, please see me. Then I understood something I had somehow missed for more than 5 decades. Those 5 words were never only the quiet prayer of the people whose stories I had been privileged to hear. They had been mine too. I quietly closed the manuscript, not because I had finished writing, but because I finally understood what I had been trying to write all along. Ever since that morning, I catch myself looking into the eyes of complete strangers, the waiter, the cashier, the flight attendant, the businessman, the homeless man, the little girl holding her father's hand. Apparently, I no longer see strangers. I see stories. And once you begin seeing stories, I do not think you can ever go back. So if our paths ever cross and we never exchange a single word, I hope I remember what San Diego Bay quietly taught me that morning. To slow down, to look into your eyes, and silently remind myself that beneath everything the world can see, there is another human being carrying a story I will never fully know. A story that has been asking the same question since the opening pages of Genesis. And if only for a moment, I hope my eyes answer before my words ever do. I see you, Peter J. Merrick, A.K.A. just an old fart trying to make sense of this beautiful and mysterious thing we call life, one lesson at a time.